We are seeing more and more people educated about health, about prevention, and we see them going to the doctors saying, okay, look, I have a medical grade device that tells me that there is a potential risk here. How can you help me?
New choices, new players, new models of care. You know consumer first healthcare is everywhere. For us to build the future, to see what's new, we gotta look at the world from a different point of view. Consumer innovation ain't going away. I say it's here to stay. Today it leads the way. We gotta drop the silos. We're all the same team. Experience, business, tech, and marketing. So join us now. Join the revolution. Consumer first health is the evolution. Status quo or like status no. Yeah, this is the healthcare rap. Yo, come on, let's go.
Welcome back to the leading podcast about consumer-centered health. We're bridging the gap between sick care and well care, influencing change in the industry, and empowering consumers by spotlighting cool new ways of engaging in their health and wellness. We're also having some fun along the way. I'm Jared Johnson, and this is episode 452. Today we have the Flava of the week about FoodHealth and Soda Health joining forces. How will their collaboration raise the bar for food as medicine, and will it ultimately improve nutrition offerings for consumers? I'll talk about that. Then Antoine Pivron from Withings gives us an inside look at the world of connected health devices, including how their company has evolved from making the world's first connected weight scale to becoming a B2B partner for healthcare organizations, and how to successfully make consumers and clinicians happy at the same time. It's time for the awesomeness. Are you ready? Let's go.
Flava of the week.
A new collaboration is raising the bar for food as medicine, particularly the rapidly evolving space where healthcare dollars meet grocery aisles. FoodHealth has teamed up with Soda Health to embed the FoodHealth Score, a clinically informed 1 to 100 scale that measures the true nutritional value of foods, directly into Soda Health's Smart Benefits platform. Here's why it matters. Health plans are increasingly under pressure to not just offer food as medicine benefits, but to ensure those dollars actually move the needle on outcomes. Regulators are asking for clearer accountability. Consumers want to know if healthy really means healthy, and payers need a way to distinguish between foods that reduce chronic disease risk and those that simply claim to. That's where this partnership steps in. By tying Soda Health's ability to deliver item-level benefits with FoodHealth's evidence-based scoring system, programs can now create approved product lists based on nutritional thresholds. In other words, only foods that meet a scientifically valid standard will qualify. That creates a shared language between consumers, providers, retailers, and health plans. Think about what this unlocks. A diabetic member could swipe their Smart Benefits card and confidently know that every food item covered meets a measurable health standard. No guesswork, no greenwashed marketing claims, just real science guiding everyday choices. And for payers, this isn't just about compliance. It's about creating a scalable, outcomes-based foundation for food as medicine programs. What's the consumer lens? From the consumer's perspective, the integration of FoodHealth scores into a benefit card is huge. It takes away the friction of label reading and removes the burden of being a nutrition expert just to buy groceries. Instead, shoppers get a simple number and color-coded score. That's power in the palm of your hand. The consumer lens tells us that this is about trust and transparency. When food as medicine benefits come with a clear nutritional metric, people are more likely to believe that those benefits are truly designed to help them live healthier lives. And when consumers trust the system, they're more likely to use it, meaning adoption and impact go up. Interestingly, it also seems like it'll flip the script on equity. Not everyone has access to a dietitian, but everyone deserves access to tools that help them shop smart. Embedding scores into the checkout process ensures that nutritional guidance isn't a luxury, it's built into the benefit. Bottom line, FoodHealth and Soda Health are raising the bar on what it means for food to function like medicine. This is about more than vague wellness trends. It's about measurable outcomes, scalable programs, and clarity for consumers. The big takeaway is that food as medicine is maturing. The partnerships that will matter most are those that bring rigor, science, and accountability to a space that's often relied on marketing claims instead of clinical evidence, which also means it's time we prescribe food with the same level of evidence, trust, and accountability that we do anything else. Let's keep up with how food as medicine brings real value to real people with less friction along the way, and ask ourselves how these programs play a role in our ecosystem. That's another way that we'll build the healthcare of tomorrow, and that's the Flava of the week. Hey y'all, I'm here with Sina Arham, founder of Friday's Health. Sina, what do you think is broken in the traditional approach to metabolic health, and what are you doing to flip the script?
Let's be honest, the moment in metabolic health is being driven by the GLP-1 receptor agonist class of medications, right? We finally have something that is addressing metabolic health, obesity, and type 2 diabetes in an elegant fashion, right? It's efficacious, it's manageable for patients. And so I think we're having our moment in metabolic health in that the old guard of tackling metabolic health and obesity has a lot of stigma attached to it, a lot of shame and blame and guilt.
Thanks, Sina. Visit joinfridays.com for more information and tell them you heard about it from the Healthcare Wrap.
Healthcare Wrap is sponsored by Cyril. Whether you're trying to drive patient volume as a healthcare provider, boost membership enrollment as a health insurer, drive improved adherence rates in pharma, or deepen strategic B2B partnerships throughout the healthcare ecosystem, Cyril can help you with your go-to market efforts and growth targets, enabling you to reach the clinical and financial goals of your healthcare organization. For more information, go to Cyril.com. That's CYRALL.com.
All right, everyone, let's get into the flow. I'm here with Antoine Pivron. Antoine is the director of the Health Solutions Unit with Withings. He is now responsible for the U.S. side and the Europe side, and there are a lot of insights along the way that I'm excited to dive into with them. So let's get going. Antoine, welcome to the Healthcare Wrap.
Hi, thanks, Jared. Thanks for your welcome here. Really happy to be with you.
So why don't you give us a little bit of background? Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, of course. So I've joined Withings 6 years ago, actually, to build the B2B division. So we started like very low, like few people, and trying to understand how we can make the switch from a consumer world to a medical B2B world. And after 6 years, we have quite a good team of like 30 people. And we are really focusing mainly in the US, where we see the biggest part of our business. So it's very exciting to see all of the changes in the industry.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Let's talk about some of those changes. Let's talk about how you've been here for a number of years with Withings. You've seen the company evolve in a lot of different ways. One of those ways is as a consumer health device manufacturer. Now you have, like you said, this B2B division. Tell us about any of those evolutions, and particularly like what was this B2B division all about?
So Withings is a 16-year-old company, so it's not really a startup anymore. And so it means that before the B2B, it had a life of like 10 years dedicated to the consumer world. So the company was doing like connected devices for people to monitor their health by themselves. And they were actually able to see the trends, and we mainly had consumers. And 6 years ago, we felt like something were happening, and it was the time to start the shift. And because we received a lot of demands from not consumers, but like healthcare professionals, patients, health insurers, pharma groups, researchers. And of course, it's a very different world, at least the way to approach it and to address it with different changes. So that's why we started to build the division. Yes, it's a much more medical world, where we focus a lot, of course, of the benefits for the patients. So it's not consumer, it's patients, but also what are the benefits and what is the experience for the healthcare professionals. And so that is a very big difference. And I'm sure we'll discuss this, but one of the key topics in this world is how we make this financially working for everyone and every stakeholders in the chain. So that's a very interesting part of the business. But we went from only selling like non-medical devices on Amazon, at Best Buy, or wherever, in all the department stores in the world, to partnering with the biggest research department in the universities and the biggest players in the healthcare world. So that's very interesting.
What are some of the most popular, most common devices and products that Withings sells out there?
Yeah, so we are very well known for our weight scales, because we were the first company in the world back in 2009 now to create a connected weight scale. So it's been like, 15 years, 16 years it exists. We are the leader on the connected weight scale market in Europe and in the US. So that's really we know exactly how to make this a good product. And we are also having a big range of of products around this, like activity trackers and blood pressure monitors. We have a sleep analyzer. So we are going to launch like a urine analyzer in the coming weeks. I think maybe the biggest range of connected health devices on the market. So you can track, I don't know, more than 50, 60 biomarkers with all of this. So yeah, it's quite big.
It's quite a portfolio here. And I'm curious how you determine which of those features and capabilities are most relevant for clinical use. You're describing that as you're telling us about the B2B division. You have clinical use of these devices, and then you have the consumer use of these devices. And there has always been this challenge of connecting the two sides. I remember still probably 10 years ago talking about the promise when fitness bands and watches, smart watches, were early on the market. And there was just this promise. We're like, great, now we can send all this data to our doctors and they're going to know what to do with it. Yeah. And I think at a very simple level, there's still some of that question that we're trying to answer of how does this actually become a part of a clinical workflow that they're incentivized to participate in, if that makes sense, right? Like in the early days, it was sending just reams of data to a primary care doctor who A, didn't get reimbursed for it, and B, didn't have a good structured way to look at it. So I'd love to see the evolution here. I'm just wondering how you help try to strike that balance between use for clinicians versus consumers.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And actually what we are seeing is quite funny because the consumer world, they are expecting a ton of features. Our users, they want to know their pulse wave velocity, their vascular age, their segmental body composition, I don't know, the HRV, to track their ketones with our urine analyzer, etc. Whereas our B2B partners, they either sell solutions to medical teams or they have their own medical teams to monitor patients. They focus on trends based on standard vital parameters, like, for instance, like weight, body composition, blood pressure. And so it's funny to see that the medical world actually is not asking for a ton of features, but the right ones. And so the products and the features we are mainly using in the B2B world are like standard vital parameters for most of them. So for instance, in CHF, which is like very medical, patients, they are like around 75 years old. They already had an intervention at the hospital. You need to monitor weight, ECG, and blood pressure. So you see, now in 2025, this is not revolution or even an innovation to monitor this. Whereas I have the feeling that on the consumer market, people are much more demanding on these features. So that's very interesting to see this. Of course, biggest market is, of course, with the boom of the obesity world. So weight and body composition is a key thing here. This is just my personal view on this, but since I am in the industry, I always had the feeling that the technology and so the company I'm part of was really in advance compared to the market needs. So, we are, as I told you, we are doing connected weight scales for 16 years now. And I remember 4 years ago, pharma groups asking us to integrate huge innovation, which was connected weight scales in their decentralized clinical trials. So, it was just to something we were doing for 10 years. And so I always had this feeling. Of course, in the US, it's quite different because people are much more aware of the tech tools they can use. Whereas in Europe, some of our discussion, we have to explain what is a connected device and why it might be highly relevant for them and their patients. So the US people are much more educated about the technology and how they can improve their daily practice with all of this.
Interesting. So maybe with US consumers in particular, if they're expecting at least more features, like you're saying, they're probably expecting more sophisticated ways that a connected device integrates and just makes their healthcare easier. How are consumers' expectations compared to how to use the device, right? So that's kind of like the features of the device. I guess I'm just thinking of some of the maybe innovative ways or unexpected ways that you've seen Withings devices be integrated into care delivery.
We are having discussion with, I think, every stakeholder as part of the value chain in the healthcare industry, because as the devices, they are the base of measuring and collecting data. We can have a lot of very different discussions. If I have to take two examples in the B2B world that are interesting, one was we are working with the UK DRI, so it's Dementia Research Institutes, So it is based in London and it's linked to Imperial College London. And so they are working on a very big project to identify people at risk of dementia. And it's just like simply by analyzing their sleep patterns. We have a very specific device to analyze sleep that you put under your mattress. So actually you have nothing to do except sleeping in your own bed. I think that it is very powerful to have a solution. I mean, the work they are doing just by living your daily life to be able to predict or understand your risk of dementia. And their results are already quite impressive. So, of course, I was a bit, I think it shows a lot about the potential of what you can do with our data without reinventing things, because this product is existing for, 7-8 years already. But we have not reached the full potential of all the data you can get from those devices. So I'm sure they will have a solution that will go to the market in the coming years. And another one that is interesting as well is we have worked with a French insurer. So they insure a lot of transport companies. So they have a lot of truck drivers. And actually one issue is that this population, this type of people, they are at risk of sleep apnea. And it's actually a contraindication to practicing this profession. So it means they have integrated basically the sleep analyzer, again, the same device, in a dedicated program. And they're actually selling this specific solution to companies to prevent the risk. And so it's quite easy to understand here how it lowers the risk for the employee to have an accident, for the company to lose a truck, and more importantly, to potentially an employee, and for the insurance to insure and to cover all of this. So again, it's not about the technology itself, but it's more how to integrate this, and especially with a health insurer in the offers, that was quite innovative.
Those are amazing. Hey y'all, I'm here with Jessica Holton, co-founder of Ours Privacy. Jessica, how do health systems know how much marketing data to track?
Know what you're optimizing for. We see and hear about a lot of teams that are tracking everything they possibly can, which you would think is more info is better, and we can make more decisions if we have more information. But actually, it just sends more data that is potentially PHI, and you have less control over it when you're tracking everything. Instead, choose 1 to 2 key metrics that you are tracking and focus on those metrics.
Thanks, Jessica. Visit oursprivacy.com for more information and tell them you heard about it on the Healthcare Wrap. I think these examples just help us reiterate how much is available to us in the data that we are collecting now that we might not even have expected. At least, me, I'm not the one collecting the data, but that's fascinating to see that something in sleep data, for instance, can help address something very real, or even something that could help detect early signs of dementia or whatever it is, just something that's not clearly just the day-to-day wellness that might be the first reason that somebody wants to monitor their personal health data. I think we're barely just scratching the surface of what we can actually uncover with our health data.
I totally agree with you. Yeah.
Back to the kind of the clinical side again. When I think about just remote patient monitoring, we know that promises better outcomes and lower costs, but there's a lot of factors that success really depends on here. It depends on how long you keep it going, that sustained use. It depends on the overall adoption of it. A lot of patients, you would say, are just still not used to being monitored and knowing how to incorporate it in their daily lives, even if they would still rather be at home being treated. So it's still better than being in an inpatient stay, staying at the hospital. But that doesn't mean it's easy or convenient to use it. What is Withings learning about driving long-term patient engagement? Maybe it's not even monitoring, like remote monitoring, but that illustrates the need for long-term patient engagement, like more than just a single episode, to really get the information we need. Are there insights that you've learned along the way?
Yeah, of course. I totally agree with you. And I think this is where we have spent and going to spend the most of our energy in the future. Because here the key is we have to make it as easy as possible for the patients to use the device. And it means ask the less possible to the patient and the less to the HC. So it has to be easy and it doesn't have to be a burden. So we had to reinvent ourselves from the B2C world based on a mobile app in the clinical world. Like people are are not used to be monitored and it's not necessarily their decision. So for this, we created like cellular devices, so to not use the Withings app. And we are now able to make the entire logistic for our clients. We spend a lot of time to train people who will monitor the patients. We create dedicated materials to educate patients. So all of this helps to improve the retention rate. So the retention rate is a metric that we are constantly monitoring because this is a key of the solutions. And this is everything around the details. So I don't know, maybe to give you an example, on the weight scale, we have built a nudge system. So you can share like dedicated messages on the screen of the weight scale, for instance. So for instance, like, I don't know, GLP-1 programs that says, okay, don't forget to answer questions in the app, or don't forget to take your BP or to check your symptoms or whatever. And we can also remove for instance, the value of the weight on the screen. So for people who are anxious to step on the scale and to see the actual numbers. And that was quite interesting because one of the key things for this is to listen to our clients. So this is our GLP-1 clients who told us, okay, we realize that we have quite an important percentage of people that don't want to step off the scale because they don't want to see the actual value. So we had to constantly work with our product team on this. So it's good. We have a team that has like very good relationships. So it helps us to gather the market needs and to develop the right tools to address the future challenges. So we try to always be on top of the solutions on the market. So maybe to give you another example, we just launched a new blood pressure meter, but that had a screen on the device itself. And the purpose of this is for one, educate people on what is a good measure and how to take it, but also it's where patients, they can answer questions. So you can have like dedicated questions linked to the program there. And actually the device becomes like a patient reporting outcome device. So you now have data around the measure that may be really key and relevant to adapt the program for the patient. So yeah, all of this to say that we are working a lot on the engagement, the retention. That's words that you can hear every day in our headquarters.
Is that one of the main questions or concerns you hear from clinicians when you do come to them and say, we have a way for you to connect this data, to get this data, to learn from it, to help a patient? What else are you hearing from clinicians when they say, well, we're not sure, like they have some resistance or they're just not used to it? I guess, how do you help clinicians understand how to adopt any of these technologies, any of the products that you're providing for them?
Yeah, that's a very good point. So first of all, we have to show them the value. So it's more like an exercise we are doing now in Europe, I guess, because we are a bit late compared to the US. In the US, I think like most of the systems, at least a bigger part are understanding the purpose of it. And with the CPT codes model, etc., everybody understand how it works quite easily and how it can help a lot in different matters. We work a lot on, of course, showing the value of the data and not seeing those devices as gadgets. That's quite important. And also showing how the patient will become like their actor of their program and how they will be much more motivated by monitoring themselves. We are working a lot of things like this. And of course, we are working with our B2B partners. Specifically on this, they know how to convince a healthcare professional in a very good manner. And also for when we address directly clinicians, so it's people that, let's say they have like a small or medium group of clinicians in the US, and they just want to start remote patient monitoring. So you have to come with a all-in-one solution. So for those who are not really having, let's say, like solutions to integrate things, we have built a dedicated platform where, you can simply on the platform, you can create like your patient profile, you can ship devices to the patient, you can build the CPT codes, you can set up the alerts. So we try to make things easy for them and really like a tool that they would love to use every day.
I love that thought of just helping a clinician understand that this isn't just a gadget. Like, I'm really tracking with that because we're way past the novelty stage of things and we really are able to see value and see the need for things. And so I applaud that effort because a clinician is trained to ask for evidence and is trained to see what are the how is it compared to peer devices or services? And so, yeah, they're trained to do that. And so being able to get below the surface and really show the value, that's what this all comes back to. I feel like we're all talking about at the end of the day, the process of being able to help someone who does want to improve their health. That's why we focus on consumer-driven healthcare on this show, is because it's a bridge between two worlds, the clinical world and the consumer world, that aren't always on the same page on things. And so we do need companies and organizations creating products and services that bridge the gap. That's really what this all comes down to. And I'm grateful to just think through this whole process, because this makes us aware of solutions that are available and makes us aware that when we're used to engaging in our healthcare by asking our doctor what to do next, this whole shift is happening now where that's the case for some things, but for a lot more things, especially proactive, preventive aspects of our health, we are finding the opportunity to say that as a consumer, I'm the one who's going to figure out what that next step is. I'm going to self-educate. I'm going to learn. I'm going to find some trusted sources, and I'm going to try out those devices, so that if that does come from my employer, my health plan, my primary care doctor, and they talk about prescribing a device, a connected device, that I feel more comfortable with that and I've trusted already. That's the shift. That's like the big picture shift that's happening here. So that this is at the core of all that, which just makes me think, like, what's coming next? Like, what can you tell us about what's coming next for Withings, like maybe the next 12 to 18 months?
And to link with exactly what you just said, Jared, now, as a consumer brand as well, we have dozens of millions of people around the world using our devices. And we are seeing more and more people educated about health, about prevention. And we see them going to the doctors saying, okay, look, I have a medical grade device that tells me that there is a potential risk here. How can you help me? And so you can see the trend now. All the biggest player on the wearable or the medical devices on players, we are providing much more than data to the users now. We all have a strategy where if there is a potential issue, we will offer a solution. So we will combine our B2B efforts and the consumer world to link all of our relationships and to guide the patients to the right solution when we are actually seeing something, even if they just bought like a device at Best Buy, and then after 6 months they realize that, there is potentially a risk of diabetes, or I might have hypertension, or maybe I will need a GLP-1 program. So we are going, in the coming months and years, I think we will offer much more than just the data to the patient, but we'll offer like specific tracks to solve specific issues. So that's very interesting to see this and how it will evolve over time. But part of this, so that's what's one key topic, of course, but part of this, we are going to work a lot on not only equipping the patients at home, but also equipping care professionals visiting patients. So we have a lot of demands for this. And also equipping sites. So for instance, like there is a huge boom at the moment in the elderly care market. And there are specific like elderly care homes that want to provide much more information to manage the patients, but to be able to better organize their teams and also to share much more information to the family, etc. So we are seeing a lot of very interesting trend on this, but it's different to equip like patients at home and to equip like care professionals or a site. So we are going to work on this. And on the device part, we are going to launch at scale our new blood pressure monitors that I told you just before, but also the urine analyzer. So the purpose will be to be able to track like things like, kidney stones, urine infections. So we can see like how the markets react to this and what will be the use cases with this. So that will be interesting because it doesn't exist anywhere else for now. So that will be a funny thing to discover.
I will be. Really look forward to that. That's quite a roadmap of what's coming next. Antoine, one last question for you, which I always ask. I've never been disappointed. I always learn a lot as I ask this question of just what gives people hope for the future of healthcare. And a lot of times it's helpful just to give the context of we just need to hear this more often from people. We have really smart, dedicated people working in healthcare to solve a lot of issues. And it's easy to focus on what's broken. I'm guilty of that. I focus a lot on what's broken and what can be improved and things. But it is so that we can get to a better place, so that we can engage in our health better. So what about for you personally? What gives you hope for the future of healthcare?
I think like just by seeing people much more educated about health and prevention and pushing those technologies, those data by themselves to the healthcare professionals, to me, it accelerates a lot the transformation and the adoption of digital solutions. So it helps us a lot in our mission, actually. And we are really happy to see this. So that I think it is quite positive, and we can see a lot of this in a lot of different countries. But I think the key for the future will be the payers. And so, of course, in each country, the models are very different, but the technology is here, people are here. We just need to create a common ground where it works for everyone. And so, and when I say this, it's financially speaking. So, but we see some efforts to invest in prevention and to, even though sometimes it's just a buzzword for now, but I'm confident some big players who want to innovate. First, they will be able to offer good solutions to their client, to their insurer. In the future, we have already put a lot of very nice pilot on the market. And I'm pretty sure there are a lot of good things coming. It's just a matter of finding, I think the right moment and the right solution. So we can be pretty confident.
Fantastic. Antoine, thanks for joining me today and for everything you're doing to make healthcare consumer first. Thanks again.
Thank you, Jared.